Hey guys, I'm bringing you a new Iver Johnson Thrasher SS model. This gun needs a little work done to it. Only thing that's been done to it thus far is painted white dots on the sights, added rubber grips, but it's been having some issues. The slide is pretty stiff, and we'll get into why that is here in a moment. Let's get it broke down. Alright, let's get it broke apart here. Okay, now I want to show you this. Several reasons this gun has a severe drag, I guess is a good way to call it, in the slide, and part of it is this spring mechanism. I can't even hardly get the thing out. There we go. And I want to share with you why I believe that is. Here's one reason. Get the bushing out of the way so you can understand what I'm talking about. Slides nice and easy. Let's see if I can get that until you get it right there. Now granted, when the action is operating, that doesn't actually slide that far forward, so it shouldn't be an issue. So I'm not going to bother with that yet, but here is one issue. I don't know if the camera will pick this up. You hear? I mean, I don't know if there's grit down in there or if it's just that rough on the finish on it, but that is definitely snagging. And here's another issue. Get my pointer. This extractor, push down the disconnect, so we have no tension. Should not be any tension on this slide. The barrel's removed, the spring's removed. Now let's check this out, though. You hear it grinding? Alright, so that extractor is actually dragging in that groove. Let me get my T-Iny pointer in this groove right here. Get it in the light so you can see. You see this wire marks where the disconnect's been rubbing. So I'm going to probably cut a little bit of relief there, so that'll just glide a little better. And then we're going to probably polish this channel for the extractor to ride in. And then we have a couple more issues going on with this gun as well. One of which is the barrel ramp and the frame ramp. See if I can get that in there where you can see it. And you have to just forgive me, I'm working through a viewfinder and it's hard to see this for myself, but you see where this two made up, and this gun's having issues feeding hollow points like a lot of 1911s do. And so this bottom portion of the ramp is actually a little bit further back than the ramp on the relief ramp on the barrel itself. Of course, we're going to polish both of these, but I'm actually probably going to remove a little bit of material at this leading edge of the bottom ramp to make it more in line with the barrel ramp, so that it's a more smooth transition when that round strips off the magazine and hopefully flows right up in there like it should. And you see there's a dummy round in there, so it's just not really supporting the rear of the round anyway, so that I remove is going to be off the frame, not the actual barrel. We'll just polish the barrel. And a couple more issues the gun's having is with the factory mag. No problem releasing. Falls. It normally would fall out if the slide's in there. Here, I can show you that. If the slide was on it, then you'd have a little tension on the spring, and then when you hit the mag button, it would just fall right out. These put the same tension on the spring, however are a little stiff. Now these are Kimber mags, and they should work fine. Obviously they're just a little oversized, so we're going to be working on that issue as well, and hopefully get them to where they'll drop free. Alright, now that we got the gun apart, we can see what some of the issues are going on with the mags not dropping free. And part of that is, I hope that you can see this, there are two pins, if I can get it in the right angle for the camera to see. There are two pins in here, and you see one of them right in that area there on the opposite side, and then there's another one toward the back. These are pins that stake on the plunger for the safety and the slide release mechanism which holds it onto the side of the frame. Now what's happened when they staked it, those stakes come all the way through the frame and were protruding into the mag well, which actually were dragging on the magazine as you insert it. And not the factory mag. The factory mag was working fine, but you can see the wear marks on these magazines to where it's been rubbing, and that's a good indication of where your problem is. Right there's one, there's another one, and then you see the other one back here, and of course you see them on this side. This is where the actual stakes were dragging the magazine. So what I've done is I took a file, a small very fine file, and just filed those smooth with the frame itself, the mag well of the frame itself. And as I was doing that, I noticed another issue, which is, see if I can get in here. The lighting is not going to help me very much, but if I can get this in here, maybe you can see it. Down in the mag well, the trigger loop, that's what I call it at least, is one side is actually protruding into the mag well slightly, ever so slightly, which is causing a little bit of resistance on the magazine and not allowing it to drop free. And of course the factory mag has not a problem because it's made a little with a little looser tolerances. These Kimber mags, they're still not wanting to drop free completely. That is a lot better just after filing down. Well, that one actually did drop free. After filing down those protruding bolts, but that one's still snagging just a little bit. So what I'll do, I'll tear this apart and take the trigger out, and then I can probably just manipulate that the trigger shoe in order to get it out of the way, get clearance. And I guess since I'm going to tear it down that far, I'll probably go ahead and polish the sear, the trigger shoe, and the hammer as well, all the mating surfaces, maybe even the three leaf spring as well. The mating surface is there. So stay tuned for that. I'm gonna lay that to the side. We got a lot more work to do there. Now this spring, mainspring guide rod, I don't know if you can hear that, but it doesn't work as smooth as I think it should. The outside has a very high polished, very smooth surface, and that should not be an issue as it's going through and actually using it on this bushing. It does feel smooth, so I don't believe the outside is a problem. Okay, got the guide rod took apart and I polished it. It's pretty doggone smooth now. Also the secondary piece, and they slide like butter now. Still a good tight fit, so I mean I didn't remove very much material, but just slicked it up. Now this is with no oil whatsoever on it. I actually took alcohol and tried to cut all the oil off when I'm polishing it. So I'm going to set this aside, and the next stage I want to work on is this feed ramp. And right in here I went ahead and removed some material Started doing this with sandpaper, and it was just so, this being stainless steel is pretty hard. So I actually used a rounded file, come in here and removed material from here. Let me get this where you can see it better. There we go. Remove some material on these edges here and here, and then tapered this area a little bit steeper of an angle, and hopes to create a little bit more of a ramp for the ammunition to slide up into the chamber a little bit better. So now when you put the barrel back in, they're a lot more in line with one another instead of it being a little gap that it has to jump. I haven't polished this yet, just with some like 400 grit sandpaper, but now that I've got it to that point, I'll take the buffing wheel to it and polish it real highly. Probably go ahead and polish the chamber as well, and that'll help the ammo to slide in a little bit better. But also notice the rails are pretty rough, and I noticed when I was working on this with the 400 grit, it was actually making it a lot smoother than what the rails are from the factory. So probably what I'll do is just lightly buff these rails a little bit just to smooth it up a little bit. There's even a nick right there. I don't know where that came from. It wasn't me. But try to smooth that up and just to get it to function as best as possible. So what I'm doing, just take this 400 grit, and because I want everything to get to that 400 grit stage before I buff anything, so I'm going over these areas from the factory weren't too bad, but still going over with the 400 grit and smooth it down a little bit more. I think I actually have some 800 grit somewhere. I'll get some of that and probably go over it again. Just smooth it down a little bit. And then these rails, which I was speaking about earlier, I don't know if you can see this in the light or not, but the rail section right here, especially on the top. And I was going to show you these parts that we want to take a buffing wheel to, and a little rouge, this little feed ramp right here in the barrel. I want to go over that, and I'm going to hit it a little bit here and show you. I've already worked on it some. I've already worked on them some, so I'm just putting a finish on it really right now. Alright, now get my light here, you can see. Hopefully you can see that feed ramp area. I actually took a filed it down to the angle that's in line with the barrel, and then sanded it with 400 and 800 grit, and then polished it. The same is true for the actual ramp on the end of the barrel. Yeah, well, I guess you may not be able to see it for the mirror, but I mean for the glare. But anyway, we got it nice and smooth. And something I always do as well is I actually will put the polishing wheel up inside the throat of the chamber and polish that slightly as well. And on this one in particular, I noticed some machining marks on the top edge of the throat of the chamber, which would have either came from some ammo being fed in there, or it may have just been leftover machining marks from the factory. I don't know, but either way it could have caused a hang up, so got rid of those as well. Okay, I've taken the time to sand and polish these rails just not really removing any material. You got to be careful. You don't want to take out no material, but basically all I'm basically doing is polishing it down, getting rid of some of the burrs. And if you remember how it was before and now, nice and slick. And there's completely dry, no oil on it whatsoever. So of course when it's got a little oil on it, it will do even better. Alright, we'll get it back together, and I'm going to have to get this trigger out first, and we're going to work on that mag well. And I don't know, see if I can get this light in here. If you can see the actual trigger shoe is protruding into the mag well just slightly. And that is what's actually applying a little bit of pressure to the magazines. These Kimber mags are evidently just a little bit wider, and it's just enough to make them hang to where they don't fall free when you hit the mag release. So it should be a pretty simple job. Just take the trigger out, spread that shoe out a little bit, probably go ahead and polish those areas as well while I'm in there, and then put it back together. But while I have it apart, I'll probably go ahead and put some stones on the sear engagement areas and just slick those up also. Alright, now with it stripped all the way down, you can see all the parts. Here's one section I wanted to point out to you. This, let's see if you guys can see this track right here. Here and here. That is where the trigger shoe goes in, like so, and rides in that track. And even though it's semi-smooth, it's still a little gritty. And also, since the magazines were hanging up, I'm going to get some sandpaper lightly, some real light sandpaper, maybe 800, 1200 grit, and basically just take the burrs off, polish it. Same is true with the shoe as well, or the hammer, trigger loop, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But I'm also going to do the inside, since we're having a problem with the magazines hanging. This is where the magazine comes up through, so we're going to do that. Your disconnector, you can see this section right here, this flat section rides against the hammer, and it is no polish on it whatsoever, so we'll address that. And then you have your hammer itself. Of course, you got your half cock. No need even messing with that. The thing we need to keep in mind on this, where the sear engages, is that has to be 90 degrees, exactly 90 degrees. So we don't want to change that. However, we can still get I got a 1500 grit stone, and we can get that in there and just basically take the burrs off of it. And the same is true for the sear as well. Not really going to change any angles. This one has no relief at all, it doesn't look like on it, so I may actually cut a little relief on that, and that'll make it trigger. Without a jig is I have an Onan stone here, and this is actually just part of my Lansky knife sharpening system. And you want to oil your stone, because the oil actually helps carry away the metal. And remember, on this piece it has to stay 90 degrees. So what I do is I use the corner of the stone and just set it flat against it. Actually, we're going to have to use this side, and get some oil on this corner there. And there again, I'm not removing a lot of material. All I want to do is polish it. And so this is like a I think this is a 15 or 2000 grit stone, and so it will not take off very much at all, just more or less going to slick it up here. And so by hooking it on the corner of that stone, I'm able to keep that 90-degree angle. And I want to make sure I just keep it flat against the stone and work it slow. And to be on the safe side, what I suggest you do is just work a little bit, clean it off, look at it, and to be on the real safe side, put the gun back together, double check everything, because you can get too carried away on this and ruin your hammer, and then you end up having to buy another hammer. But I'm just going to look at the metal, and when I see that it's starting to become polished, that's where I want to stop. Now we're going to do the same thing for the sear. Hopefully you can see that. Oh yeah, got a log fell down and hit my thumb and took half my nail off. Sorry about that. Probably kind of gross, but that's before I've touched it. And there again, all we're going to do is just polish. We don't want to change any angles or remove any material really. We just want to polish it. Now on an older gun that's been fired a little bit, you can see right there some wear, and so you can see there's areas that are been in contact with other metal parts. So that gives you an idea where you need to polish. Keeping in mind, you don't want to change any angles. So you're going to go slow, check your work, and then double check your work. I wanted to stop for a minute and show you guys this. This is a fine example. It's a disconnector, and let me see if I can get it in the light correctly. And you see where I've started to own this with the stone, and you can see how some of the places are shiny and some are not. Well, this just shows you in the manufacturing process. Let me see if I can get this so where you can see how that, you know, everything's not perfect, and so you can hand lap and fit pieces together and make everything work a lot better that way. So we'll keep going over this until we get it smoothed out good. And these are just making very small differences in the trigger pull, but they all add up to a sum which gives you a decent trigger. Alright, I got it all finished up and back together, and no magazine. Slide actually works a lot smoother now, and I was going to test this trigger. Stock was right at, believe it or not, 7 pounds, which is ridiculous for a 1911. Well, we didn't really try to lighten it, we just smoothed everything out. So let's see what difference it made on it. Alright, 5 pounds. So we reduced it by almost 2 pounds, or right at 2 pounds, just by smoothing out parts, not really changing any angles or anything. So it's well worth it. And you know, 4 or 5 pounds for a carry weapon is pretty good. I don't like my carry weapons very light because you don't want to accidentally let one fly when you're not meaning to. And the gun itself from the factory has some pretty tight tolerances. It's just you need some things smoothed up. What I ended up doing, the sear, the disconnect, the hammer, stoned all those areas. I also stoned the rails, top on the slide and the frame. The guide rod, I polished it out where it was kind of gritty. The magazine release button was also real gritty and kind of hard to push. So when I got it out, it was pretty rough looking, so I just basically polished it, and it was fine as well. And then of course the trigger, also the trigger the trigger shoe or loop, whatever you want to call it, polished that real good just to smooth that out real nice. And let me get a snap cap in here, and if I can get it in without putting the magazine in. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. And the trigger ended up being really crisp, real crisp, and it's really nice. It does have a little take up, but on this particular model there's no adjustment for that. The only way to adjust that would be change that trigger loop to take up some of that slack. I could probably modify it, but I'm not willing to do that right yet with this gun. If it comes back, maybe I will do that in the future. You can actually cut a little notch off of it and spring that forward to take up that slack. But I don't mind it right now the way it is, as long as it breaks nice and clean. Okay, all finished up. Just got back from a range. Put about almost 200 rounds through this gun. Before we messed with it, it was having some reliability issues feeding, especially feeding some lead projectile hand loads, and still having trouble with that. But I think the reloads themselves, are not my reloads, are a little bit oversized, because I can't even get them to drop in the barrel with my finger. So, but all the factory ammo we put through it, it ate it like nobody's business, just as fast as you can squeeze off. So all the polishing, all the hard work paid off, and now we got a nice gun that's reliable with a nice clean trigger break. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, or leave a comment. We appreciate your comments and happy shooting.